All right, hello everyone. This is Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College, coming at you with the last set of videos for Murox ASP.NET 4.6 with C# 2015. Yes, I've reached Chapter 25 of 25, an introduction to ASP.NET MVC. Before we started, I wanted to mention a couple things. One of my cohorts, Mr. Evan Gudmested, has talked about changing the focus of the .NET framework with databases class to make it more of an ASP.NET MVC class. So that may happen over time. And MVC, it's a different type of topic. I'm not going to say it's easy or hard. I guess it's not for me to say. But I wanted to give you some resources that if you wanted to get started learning about it, you could. So these are what I've found, and there are plenty more than this, but I'm actually going to show you a couple more. The first one here is from a place called tutorials.point, and tutorialspoint.com. And if you've never gone out to tutorialspoint.com, it's a great site. They literally, really and truly do have tutorials about most things IT. And if you go out there, you're going to find this. It's a 305-page free PDF ASP.NET MVC. And the other good news about it is it's fairly recent. It's 2016, which probably means it was written in 2015. So we've got an overview of MVC, the MVC pattern, the environment setup, getting started, the lifecycle, routing, controllers, actions, filters, selectors, views, data models, helper, model binding, databases, validation, security, caching, Razor, data annotations, NuGet package management, web API, scaffolding, bootstrap, unit testing, deployment, and self-hosting. Now, I'm not sure how good it is because I just found it myself yesterday. So I started reading through it, and the little bit I've read through so far looks pretty good. All right, so that's a first place. So again, it's tutorialspoint.com, and even if you just go out to tutorialspoint.com and you go in under their tutorials, so you look under tutorials library, you can look there, and under programming, I'm sure you can find it there someplace. All right, there's web development, there's ASP.NET, so I can always go out, again, and just search on there as well. So that's one place that you can go to start looking for some of that stuff. All right, so that's one place. I also found this. It's a little bit dated. It's from the Microsoft Virtual Academy, and it's another place that if you've never been out there before, let me just go out to mva.microsoft.com. There are a boatload of free classes in a lot of different things. So if I went out to web development, I can find classes. As an example, C# Fundamentals for Absolute Beginners, and that's Bob Tabor. I've gone through that course. It's actually really good. And there's all sorts of other stuff. HTML and CSS Fundamentals, Development for Absolute Beginners. JavaScript Fundamentals for Absolute Beginners. And again, you can come out here and you can sort for MVC or search for MVC. Now, the only thing I will tell you about this, this is my own opinion, for whatever it is or is not worth. Let's see. This is the one that I looked at. Again, it says it's about 2 years old. And the gentlemen who do it, it's John Galloway and Christopher Harrison. All right, there's John Galloway. And I was just going to let you see a little bit. Christopher Harrison, they're both very knowledgeable people. Christopher Harrison is a little bit loud. All right, so you may not like that, but it's well done. The other one that I found, and this is a very long URL, but it was on Pluralsight, and I believe this is a free course, but I could be wrong. Sure wouldn't be the first time. And it's by somebody named Scott Allen. Again, I haven't had a chance to really go through this, but it's ASP.NET MV site.
Hi, this is Scott Allen, and this is my ASP.NET MVC Fundamentals course.
Okay. So I'm sure you can go and search for ASP.NET MVC5 Fundamentals Pluralsight and find that. The other place that, and again, I don't know if I've ever gone through this or not, but if you go out to udemy.com, udemy.com, I'm a member. The only time that they send you emails are when their courses go down to $10 a piece. All right. So if I go out there and as an example, and if I search their courses, I can type in MVC, which is Model View Controller. All right. And in fact, I can even, when I start to do that, it comes back and it says I've got at least 5 pages worth. So that's a lot. So let me go back and do it again. And let's type in ASP.NET MVC. All right. And it's going to give me a certain number. But when you look here, I can also go to price, and I can see that there's 7 free courses. ASP.NET MVC Quick Start, which looks like it's about a 5-hour long course. ASP.NET Create a News Website. The Entity Framework Model. Okay. So, I don't know how good these courses are or are not. All right, you can see I've signed up for this one. I haven't done a darn thing with it. But it's build a basic CRUD, create, read, update, delete application with MVC and the Entity Framework in a weekend. There's the guy who's teaching it, Brian Gorman. And when we look at the course content, 5, 9, 14, 21, 32, 36, 41, 49, 60. There are 65 different lessons. And you can see the lessons in here at least look like they range from about anywhere up to about, they're all 10 minutes is the biggest one. All right. I have actually signed up for a couple classes in here on ASP.NET. This is one you can see I've started going through it. Learn ASP.NET, a course for ASP.NET developers. And also this one, which was very interesting, create an ASP.NET MVC application in an hour. And there were only 14 lectures in it. All right. So that should just get you started. Now, that said, what I'm going to do here, because I'm already up to 7 minutes, is I'm going to start going over the chapter, and then we'll stop and continue on. So, Chapter 25 begins on page 865, an introduction to ASP.NET MVC. And they mentioned in recent years, ASP.NET MVC has gotten more attention as a web development tool, as it facilitates unit testing, uses naming and structure conventions for configuration, and works directly with HTTP requests. Sometimes the author mentions you'll see ASP.NET MVC touted as a replacement for ASP.NET Web Forms, but it's not the case. Rather, the author says here on 865, you should see ASP.NET MVC as a complement to Web Forms. Each has its own strengths, which means each has its own weaknesses. Web Forms are typically used for intranet web applications and websites that need to use state or complex server controls. MVC is used for websites with high traffic and a need for search engine optimization and good performance. In this chapter, you'll learn the basic concepts and skills for working with ASP.NET web applications. So what we have in here is we want to be able to, MVC again is an acronym for Model View Controller. So we want to be able to describe those 3 components of the MVC design pattern, explain how using the MVC pattern can improve application development, describe the view model, which is something that can be added where it's actually MVVC, describe the sequence in which models, views, and controllers are developed, describe the use of a fairly new product called the Razor View Engine and routing in an ASP.NET MVC application, describe the use of HTML controls, HTML helpers, and layout views within the views of an ASP.NET MVC application, describe the use of redirection in what's called the PRG pattern, which we'll look at in a bit, in a controller of an ASP.NET MVC application, and finally describe the use of strongly typed views and model binding in an ASP.NET application. So before I go into this, I'm going to stop right here, and this will be the end of video 1. Sorry there wasn't much content in it, but at least got you started. So if you want to go a little further in your path of learning Model View Controller, you'd be able to do so. And I should mention one last thing, because I found this as I was looking for stuff online. And this is called the ASP.NET/core/project/JSON MDF. And it's pretty long. This is just a table of contents, which is 4, 5, 6 pages long. And it's an introduction to ASP.NET Core, which is new. And the good or bad or indifferent thing about it is it's 1,244 pages. But if I jump up to about page 245, thought it was there. I guess it's up a little further. There it is, starting on 254, there's an overview of ASP.NET Core MVC. This looks like it's about 100 pages long. All right, and the last thing I wanted to mention to you was there used to be, under Codeplex, there was an MVC movie application. Now I know that it's old, etc. MVC Music Store. All right, here's MVC Movies. Again, you can see that it's 5 or 6 years old. All right, and this was really a cool document. You could get a PDF from it. It was about, good golly, I'd say 190 pages, something like that. Here's the PDF, 160 pages. And it walked you through everything. I really liked it. But it's very dated, so a lot of the stuff that's in there has changed so much that it probably isn't going to help you too much. And it's Codeplex, and we already looked at earlier how Codeplex is shutting down. But notice they have a sample application and the MVC Movie Store app. All right, that's not the one I wanted to show you. So let me go back one more time because, let's see. That's 2013. 2010. This is that same thing by John Galloway, but it's MVC3, and they're actually up to MVC6. This was the one. Create a movie database application in 15 minutes with ASP.NET MVC. I am currently reading through this. If I think that this is a good enough article, what I'll do is I'll make an extra presentation or two on this. All right, I'd like to give some extra MVC. They have it both in C# and in Visual Basic. All right, so I'll be back to get into the MVC design pattern in just a couple minutes.